Hello and welcome to Transform Applied. This short video is brought to you by myself, Liz Barrett, and my colleague Mark Lowe. We are both Associate Head Teachers at the Transform Trust. Before we talk about the conceptual framework for learning, we'd like to introduce you to our learning approach. This is in 3 parts. Firstly, learn it. We believe that professional development is underpinned by a clear and shared knowledge and language. Secondly, live it. We recognise that application and practice are crucial for embedding learning and making it work for you in your context. And thirdly, legacy. We believe in passing learning on so we can focus on how we can all contribute to developing others and building capacity across school and in the wider system.
The conceptual framework is a knowledge organiser. It's a knowledge organiser for learning, and our aim was to focus discussion and debate not on best fit models of how to teach, but on how we learn. And our goal was for this to be universally about learning at all ages, for children in the classroom, for adults as part of their CPD, in face-to-face sessions, or in a more virtual world. And to make it, we used our own experiences as teachers and as facilitators of CPD, and also on experience of coaching and being coached, and on the huge amounts of professional dialogue and reading we've undertaken. What we know about knowledge is that it doesn't sit alone in neat packages, but it's interconnected like a web of ideas that interact, overlap, and influence each other. So in this framework, we've attempted to make what's invisible and make it visible and concrete so that everyone is given access to it. In the design of the framework, we identified 3 layers. This is the top layer, showing 4 dimensions to learning. The first is environment, the next is design, then deliver, and finally develop. The second layer, which we'll introduce next, identifies the broad areas of knowledge within those 4 dimensions. And finally, we drafted a more detailed layer exploring application. We believe that expert teaching happens when we have expert decision making, and this framework aims to identify the multitude of decisions an educator might make when crafting an effective learning experience. It's a framework to generate questions and to enable effective expert decision making rather than give a one-size-fits-all approach.
We believe in disciplinary thinking, and we think it's really powerful. And so when we're making effective learning decisions, we should be drawing from 4 different disciplines so that we can find the best in environment, the best in design, in delivery and development. So when we think about environment, the people who create the best environments are architects. So we think from the position of architects in terms of the physical environment, the behavioural environment, the social and the emotional environment that we create for learning. Architects are able to understand and craft spatial relationships. They understand interactions, they understand processes of a space. They draw on and pull from art and science, and they create spaces which are perfectly fit for purpose, where people feel safe and feel inspired and feel engaged. So when we're thinking about learning environments, we should really be thinking from the position of an architect. However, when we think about learning design, we should probably be thinking about it from the eyes of a scientist, because learning science is a science. It's a structured process. It draws on lots of research-based knowledge, so knowledge of pedagogy, knowledge of subject, knowledge of people, knowledge of pathways. And design requires really clear, coherent thinking. It draws on rigor and research. It's about planning and preempting different variables. So when we're considering learning design, we probably need to put ourselves in the shoes of a scientist.
And we believe that delivery of learning is like an art. Teaching the art of delivery is a really hard thing to do. It's where we take our design and make it respond and adapt to the learning in the moment as it happens. And there's an art to the way that we explain, in the way that we present, in the way that we interact and respond to others. The decisions we make in this moment are where we take the decisions we made in the design and we apply them in a way that's constantly adapted and reshaped to meet the needs of the individuals. It's difficult to define as it's so unique and personal to each of us. Just like an art, it takes deliberate practice and reflection to nurture and develop. And what we know about art is that when those skills are perfected, honed, and combined to the right recipe, magic can happen. Its complexity looks simple. So we think of delivery as an art. And then finally, there's development. This is where we pull from the discipline of philosophers or psychologists. And this is really where we are thinking about how we think, we feel, and we act. And the teacher or facilitator of learning needs knowledge of themselves to grow their confidence, clarify their identity, develop their behaviors to enable the best learning to happen. And we're learners ourselves in this space. We're constantly seeking to own and hone our craft and ultimately improve and optimize the learning conditions and experiences for others.
So this is the conceptual framework for learning, really focusing on these 4 dimensions of environment, design, delivery, and development, and looking through the eyes of 4 disciplines: architecture, science, art, and philosophy. If you want to join in the conversation, talk to us about it, debate about it, we really are interested in hearing from you. There is our Twitter handle, there is our website. Please do join us, talk to us more, and we really look forward to talking to you about the conceptual framework for learning.